So this is your review for sections 2.4 and 2.6 for your quiz. Remember with these, you are doing net change or finding the slope between 2 points. Sometimes you're going to be given a table like you see with 51 and 52. Sometimes you'll be given a coordinate plane. Sometimes you're going to be given the function rule. So you're going to have to figure those out based off of the way that they give those to you. You're also going to have word problems that ask you to find the rate of change and everything. So same kind of questions, just in a word problem instead of the 3 types that you see on that one part on the left here. You're also going to be finding the transformations given certain functions with their rules. You're also going to be looking at odd and even functions and odd and even graphs. Odd and even with the graphs, we didn't really go over that. So I want to start with that first. Plus 2, the way that I have this laid out, it goes like page by page. So you're not going to be able to see this come like the last page or the last part of this. So if we look at number 74 first, your odd and even functions. When you are working with your even and odd functions, it all depends on what the graph looks like. So you have to use like the visual of what the graph looks like to see whether or not it's odd or even. Your even functions will literally mirror one another on both sides of the y-axis. Okay, so like if you look at example C, that left side mirrors the right side and it's separated by the y-axis. So example C is even. Let's do this in a color that we can see. These are always symmetrical about the y-axis. So your y-axis is what splits those in half and both sides are mirrored. Your odd functions are like example A. They go through your origin. That's the first giveaway, is that they go through 0, 0 on your origin. From there, if you look at both sides from your origin, they would be like opposite, kind of opposite of one another. So the way that your textbook would show you is that the distance diagonally and down is the same on both sides. So this one here, example A, is odd. If you look at B and D, B is not symmetrical across your y-axis, nor is it symmetrical of your origin. So B is neither. And then D is the same thing. It's not symmetrical about your y-axis, nor is it symmetrical about the origin. So this one is neither as well. Okay. So again, that's your odd and even functions. If it's symmetrical about the y-axis and it mirrors each other on both sides, it's even. If it's symmetrical about your origin, so it goes through 0, 0, and it's symmetrical from your origin, it's odd. So if we look at the first set of questions, we're going to do 51 and 52 first. We're going to find the average rate of change. For 51, we're finding the average rate of change between when x is 4 and when x is 8. So the ordered pair that we're looking at is the 4, 12 and the 8, 8. So average rate of change, same as your slope. Which of these 2 points do you want to be your x1 and your y1?
8.
The 8, 8. Is that what you said?
Yes.
So x1, y1, this will be x2, y2. So to find your average rate of change, you're still just finding the slope. So we're going to find the slope by doing y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's 12 minus 8 over 4 minus 8. The 12 minus 8 gives us 4. The 4 minus 8, this simplifies to be, so that -1 is your average rate of change. For 52, it tells you between x is equal to 10 and x is equal to 30. So the ordered pair for the x is equal to 10 is that 10, negative 5. And for when x is 30, your y is 30, so that's 30, 30. So if we use the 10, negative 5 and the 30, 30, which of these would you like to be your x1 and your y1?
10.
So the 30, 30 will be your x2 and your y2. So if we're finding our slope, again, it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's 30 minus negative 5 over 30 minus 10. Those two negatives next to each other turn into positives, so 30 plus 5 is 35, and 30 minus 10 is 20. These are both divisible by 5, so if we divide the 35 by 5, we get 7. The 20 divided by 5 is 4, so our average rate of change, or our slope, is just 7 over 4. The next part of this gives you coordinate planes with graphs. So it tells you for 53, between x is equal to negative 1 and x is equal to 2. So when x is equal to negative 1, that's this ordered pair here. So that's the ordered pair negative 1, 2. And when x is equal to 2, that's this one here, which is 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we use these two ordered pairs to find the average rate of change or our slope, we are going to the next page. Or, again, you're using the coordinate plane that's given to you. You have an x value of 1 and an x value of 3. So for that x value of 1, your y is 5, so that's 1 comma 5. And when that x value is 3, your y is negative 1, so that's 3, negative 1. So we're going to use these 2 points. 56, it tells us to use f of x for 55. F of x is equal to x squared minus 2x, and find your average rate of change between x is equal to 1 and x is equal to 4. So this one doesn't give us a graph. Look at the next set of questions that we're going to be going over that are highlighted. It's 67 and 68. For these two, you have word problems. For 67, it tells you that the population of a planned seaside community in Florida is given by the function P of t is equal to 3,000 plus 200t plus 0.1 t squared, where t represents the number of years since the community was incorporated in 1985. For A, we're finding P of 10 and P of 20. After we do that, we're going to do B, which tells us to find the average rate of change between t is equal to 10 and t is equal to 20. Next set of questions that we are looking at, we are finding the average rate of change given for 69, f is equal to 1/2 x minus 6. And for 70, f of x is equal to 8 minus 3x. We are finding the rate of change between x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 2, as well as between x is equal to 15 and x is equal to 50. For B, it says where the two average rates of change, where the two average rate of change that you found in part A the same, and then C asks if the function is linear. If so, what is the rate of change? We have negative 1, 2, and 2, 6. So we're going to find the slope. So it's just going to be, if I use the 2, 6 as my y, my x2, my y2, it's going to be 6 minus 2 over 2 minus negative 1. Again, those double negatives turn into positives. So 6 minus 2 is 4 over 2 plus 1 is 3. So your slope, or your average rate of change, is just 4 over 3. For 50, we're just going to find our slope. So we have 1, 5, and 3, negative 1. Which of these do you want to use as your x1 and your y1? 3, negative 1. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So our slope is going to just be found by doing 5 minus negative 1 over 1 minus 3. The 5 minus negative 1, double negative, turns into 5 plus 1. So that's 6. And then 1 minus 3 is negative 2. The 6 over negative 2 does simplify to be negative 3. So your average rate of change or your slope is -3. For numbers 55 and or a function table, we have to find y when x is 1. We have to find y when x is 4. If x is equal to 1, plug the 1 in and find f of 1. So it's going to be 1 squared minus 2 times 1. That gives us 1 minus 2, which is just -1. You also need to find when x is 4 what y is. So we're going to find f of 4. So it's going to be 4 squared minus 2 times 4. The 4 squared is 16. The -2 times 4 is -8. So 16 minus 8 is 8. This now gives us the ordered pairs of 1, -1, as well as 4, 8. If we're finding our average rate of change or our slope from these 2 points, we're going to use m is equal to, if x2, y2 is the 4, 8, x1, y1 is the 1, -1, 8 minus -1 over 4 minus 1. The 8 minus -1 turns into 8 plus 1, which is 9. And the 4 minus 1 turns into 3. And 9 over 3 simplifies to just be 3. For number 56, we're given g of x is equal to x plus 1 squared. We're finding between x is equal to -1 and x is equal to 5. So first, find what y is when x is -1. If we plug that -1 in, that's -1 plus 1 squared, which is 0 squared. And that's just 0. Oops. So that gives us the ordered pair of -1, 0. For f of 5, that's going to give us 5 plus 1 squared. So that's 6 squared. So that's 36. So that ordered pair is 5, 36. Which of these do you want to be your x1 and your y1? -1, 0. So x1, y1, your x2 is 5, your y2 is 36. So to find our slope, we're going to use 36 minus 0 over 5 minus -1. 36 minus 0 is 36. 5 minus -1 is 5 plus 1, which is 6. And 36 over 6 simplifies to be 6. So your average rate of change for this one is 6. So our function is p of t is equal to 3,000 plus 200t plus 0.1t squared. We're finding p of t and p of 20. So p of t, we're going to plug in that, p of 10. We're going to plug in that 10 for t and then solve or simplify. So this is going to give us 3,000 plus 200 times 10 plus 0.1 times 10 squared. This 300 doesn't change yet, so that's just 3,000 doesn't change yet, so it's just 3,000. The 200 times 10 is 2,000. You have that 0.1 times 10 squared, which is 10 times 10, which is 100. From there, multiply the 0.1 times 10. You're moving the decimal point 2 places to the right, and it becomes 10. So that becomes 3,000 plus 2,000 plus 10. The 3,000 plus 2,000 is 5,000 plus 10 is 5,010. So this gives you the ordered pair 10, 5,010. Next, you're going to find p of 20. So we're going to take the 20, plug it in. So that's 3,000 plus 200 times 20 plus 0.1 times 20 squared. Once again, the 3,000 doesn't change, so we're going to keep it 3,000. The 200 times 20 is 4,000. And the 0.1 doesn't change yet, but the 20 squared is 20 times 20, which is 400. We multiply that by the 0.1. Pull that decimal point in 1, so that's going to be 40. So that's 3,000 plus 4,000 plus 40. We add all of this up and we get 7,040. So the ordered pair when P of 20 is what we're finding is 20 comma 7,040. From here, this is all just for A, okay? B then tells you to find your average rate of change between when T is equal to 10 and T is equal to 20. So use the two ordered pairs that you have and find the slope between them. Which of those ordered pairs would you like to use as your x1 and your y1? Okay. So to find our slope or our average rate of change, we're going to do 7,040 minus 5,010 over 20 minus 10. On the bottom of that fraction, easy, that 20 minus 10 is just 10. The 7,040 minus 5,010 is what? 2,030. So if we divide that 2,030 by 10, it gives us 203. For 68, it gives you the function d of t is equal to 3,500 plus 15t squared. For example A, it tells us to find d of 0 and d of 15. If we start with d of 0, we're going to have 3,500 plus 15 times 0 squared. That 0 squared is 0, so that's 3,500 plus 15 times 0. Anything times 0 is 0, so that's just the 3,500. We're also going to find d of 15. So it's going to give us 3,500 plus 15 times 15 squared. So from here, you have the 15 squared, which is 225, so that's 3,500 plus 15 times 225. Next, you'll do the 225 times 15, which gives us what? 3,375. Okay, so from here, subtract the two. The 3,500 minus, or sorry, add the two. The 3,500 plus the 3,375 gives us what?
6,875.
Okay, so your D of 15 is the 6,875. From here, example B asks you to find T when D is equal to 1,700. If D is equal to 1,700, this gives you the formula or the equation. 1,700 is equal to 3,500 plus 15t squared. So you're just finding t there. First thing, subtract the 3,500 over. Your zeros come down. The 1 above the 5 becomes 10, making the 7 a 6. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 6 minus 3 is 3. And that 1 comes down. So that's 13,500 is equal to 15t squared. From here, we're going to divide each side by the 15. And this is going to give us t squared is equal to 900. So from here, we're going to take the square root of both sides. So we get that t is equal to what? What is it? The square root. Remember, it's 9 times 100 is 30. You took the square root of both sides, so it's not just 30, but also
30
plus or minus 30.
So we use calculus?
No, you're not gonna have a problem with numbers this big. The last part of this question, example C, tells you to find the average rate of change when t is equal to 0 and t is equal to 15. Remember, we found d of 0 was 3,500, so that's the ordered pair 0, 3,500. We also found d of 15 as to be 6,875, so that ordered pair is 15, 6875. If we were to find the average rate of change or the slope between these 2 points, which of them do you want to use as your x1 and your y1? So our slope formula is going to give us 6875 minus 3,500 over 15 minus 0. Easy bottom, 15 minus 0 is 15. On the top, though, you have 6875 minus 300. The 5 minus 0 is 5. 7 minus 0 is 7. 8 minus 5 is 3. And 6 minus 3 is 3. These are both divisible by 5. So if you want to simplify it, divide them both by 5. 5 goes into 33 6 times with 3 left over. 5 goes into 37 7 times with 2 left over. 5 goes into 25 5 times. And then 5 goes into 15 3 times. From here, simplify this fully. 3 goes into 6 twice with none left over. 3 goes into 7 twice with 1 left over. And 3 goes into 15 5 times. So your average rate of change for this is 225. We look at 69. Again, you have f of x is equal to 1/2 x minus 6. You're finding x of 0 and x is 2. Then you're also going to find x is equal to 15 and x is equal to 50. For a, x is equal to 0, we're doing f of 0 is equal to 1/2 times 0 minus 6. The 1/2 times 0 is 0 minus 6 is negative 6. So f of 0 is equal to negative 6. Next, you have to find f of 2. So that's going to be 1/2 times 2 minus 6. The 1/2 times 2 is 1 minus 6 is negative 5. So f of 2 is equal to negative 5. From here, find your average rate of change between the two. So you're going to use the ordered pair 0, negative 6, as well as 2, negative 5. So we're going to find, or we're going to use x1, y1 as 0, negative 6, x2, y2 as 2, negative 5. So then we're going to have negative 5 minus negative 6 over 2 minus 0. Your two negatives next to each other turn into positives, so 6 minus 5 is 1 over 2 minus 0 is 2. So your average rate of change for the first 2 points when x is 0 and x is 2 is 1/2. Next, find f of 15 and f of 50. So 1/2 times 15 minus 6 for f of 15 is going to give us 15 over 2 minus 6, which is 12 over 2. So that gives us 3 over 2. We're also going to find f of 50. So that's 1/2 times 50 minus 6. The 1/2 times 50 is 50 over 2, which is 25 minus 6, which is 19. So if we find the average rate of change with these, we're going to use the points 15, 3 over 2, as well as 50, 19. I would use your x1 and your y1 as the 15 and the 3 over 2, making your 50 x2 and your 19 y2. To find your slope, you're going to do 19 minus 3 over 2 over 50 minus 15. The 19 minus 3 over 2 has to turn into 38 over 2 minus 3 over 2. And the 50 minus 15 you can keep the way that you see it. From here, the 38 minus 3 gives us 35 over 2 over 50 minus 15. The 10, or the 0 becomes a 10, making the 5 a 4. So that's 35. You have a fraction within a fraction. This is the same thing as keep, change, flip. Your 35s cancel out, so it's just 1 over 2. You'll see here that if you look at example B, it asks you if M is the same or different. Your average rate of change for both of these is the same. It's 1/2 for the first, 1/2 for the second. So they are the same. Example C asks if it is linear, and if it is, what is the rate of change? If you look at the actual formula, it's f of x, or y, is equal to 1/2 x minus 6. That is linear because x is not raised to a power. So the term that's its coefficient, which is 1/2, is your slope or your rate of change, which in this case, again, it's the same thing that you got from example A. This is linear. Your average rate of change is 1/2. For 70, it gives you the function f of x is equal to 8 minus 3x. You're doing the same exact thing that you did for the one before this. So for example A, you're finding x, or finding y when x is 0 and when x is 2, then finding the average rate of change between those, then doing the same when x is 15 and x is 50. So, starting off with x is equal to 0. F of 0 is going to give you 8 minus 3 times 0. So that's 8 minus 0, which is just 8. For f of 2, that's going to be 8 minus 3 times 2, which is 8 minus 6, and that's 2. So this gives us the ordered pairs of 0, 8, and 2, 2. If we use x1, y1 with the 0, 8, we'll have x2 as 2 and y2 as 2. So to find our average rate of change, we're going to do 2 minus 8 over 2 minus 0. So that's negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3. We're going to do the same thing when x is 15 and x is 5. So find f of 15. That's going to give us 8 minus 3 times 15. The negative 3 times 15 is negative 45. So 8 minus 45. Your bigger number here is negative, so your answer is going to be negative. The 5 would become a 15, making the 4 a 3. So 15 minus 8 gives us negative 37 when we simplify it. So this is the ordered pair, 15 comma negative 37. If we find f of 50, that's 8 minus 3 times 50. So it's 8 minus 150. Keep it negative. The 8 turns into 10, or the 0 turns into 10, making the 5 a 4. 10 minus 8 is 2. Bring the 4 down, bring the 1 down, that's negative 142. So this ordered pair is 50 comma negative 142. If we find the slope for this one, we're going to have, if we use this as x2, y2, x1, y1. Negative 142 minus negative 37 over 50 minus 15. The double negatives turn into positives, so you have negative 142 plus 37, so we're going to do 142 minus 37. Keep it negative. The 2 turns into 12, making the 4 a 3. So that's 100. 7 goes into 12 5 times, so negative 105 over 35. Again, these are both divisible by 5, so this becomes negative 21 over 7, which is negative 3. You'll see here that your average rate of change is the same for both of these. So when B asks you if it's the same or different, this one is the same as well. And then, is this linear? Well, if you rewrite this formula that it gives you in slope-intercept form, you would have f of x is equal to negative 3x plus 8. That negative 3x gives you your slope of negative 3, and it is linear because x is not raised to a power, it's not inside absolute value bars, and it's not in a radical either. So it is linear, and your rate of change is negative 3. For 72, we have for A, y is equal to f of x minus 2. We're just stating the transformation with these. That minus 2 is inside the parentheses, so what's happening is horizontally. We want to think opposite of minus 2, so it would be positive 2. From 0 on the number line to get to positive 2, you'd be going to the right 2 places, so the same thing here. So we're going right 2 units. For example, B, we have y is equal to the opposite of f of x. This negative is in front of that f of x. It's not in parentheses, so what's happening to it is vertical. It does represent a reflection, so we're reflecting vertically. So we reflect across the x-axis. For C, we have y is equal to 3 minus f of x. I would rewrite this one to be y is equal to opposite of f of x plus 3. So that negative that's in front of f of x, again, we're reflecting vertically, so we reflect across the x-axis. And then that plus 3 just means that we're going up 3 units. For D, we have y is equal to 1/2 times f of x minus 1. The 1/2 is in front of the f of x, so it's happening vertically. It is less than 1, but greater than 0. So we have a vertical stretch, or sorry, a vertical compression since it's less than 1, compression by a factor of 1/2. Remember, if it was inside the parentheses in front of x, so the coefficient of x, you would take the reciprocal of that term. The reciprocal is what's telling you if it is a compression or a stretch, and that reciprocal would be your factor. From here, we do have that minus 1, not in parentheses, so it's going down 1 unit. Then for E, we have y is equal to f of negative 1 of x. That f to the negative 1 is just telling us that we're taking the inverse of this function. When we take the inverse, our x and our y literally just switch. So your x becomes your y becomes your x from the same ordered pair. And for f, you have y is equal to f of negative x. That negative that's inside the parentheses is a reflection horizontally. If we're reflecting horizontally side to side, we go across the y-axis. So this just reflects across the y-axis. From here, we are finding whether or not these functions are odd, even, or neither. For 73, we have f of x is equal to 2x to the 5th power minus 3x squared plus 2. So we're going to find f of 2 first. So it's going to be 2 times 2 to the 5th power minus 3 times 2 squared plus 2. So that's 2 times 32 minus 3 times 4 plus 2. So 2 times 32 is 64 minus 12 plus 2. The negative 12 plus 2 is negative 10, so 64 minus 10 gives us 54. Next, if we find f of negative 2, that's going to be 2 times negative 2 to the 5th power minus 3 times negative 2 squared plus 2. So this is 2 times negative 32 minus 3 times 4 plus 2. So 2 times negative 32 is negative 64 minus 12 plus 2 is negative 64 minus 10, which is negative 74. These two numbers are neither opposites nor the same, so this one is neither. For example B, we have f of x is equal to x cubed minus x to the 7th power. So again, we're going to use f of 2 and f of negative 2. For f of 2, that gives us 2 to the 3rd power minus 2 to the 7th power. That 2 to the 3rd power is 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2 is 8, minus 2 to the 7th power is 128. So 8 minus 128 is negative 100. If we find f of negative 2, that negative 2 to the 3rd power minus 7 times negative 2 to the 7th power is going to give us negative 8 minus a negative 128. So this ends up becoming a positive 128. So negative 8 plus 128 is positive 100. Or sorry, this is supposed to be 120. This is negative 120. And then this one is positive 120. So these two are opposites of one another. So this one is odd. For example C, same thing, we're doing f of 2 and f of negative 2. For 2, that's going to give us 1 minus 2 squared over 1 plus 2 squared. So the 2 squared is 4, so it's 1 minus 4 over 1 plus 4, which gives us negative 3 over 5. For the negative 2, for f of negative 2, we're going to have 1 minus negative 2 squared over 1 plus negative 2 squared. So we're going to have 1 minus 4 over 1 plus 4, which again is negative 3 over 5. These two are the same, so since they're the same, these are even. And lastly, for example D, we have 1 over x plus 2. The 1 over x plus 2, if we find f of 2, it's going to be 1 over 2 plus 2, which is 1 over 4. If we find f of negative 2, this is going to give us 1 over negative 2 plus 2, which is 1 over 0, and that one is undefined. Again, these two numbers that you see here are not the same, nor are they opposites, so this one is neither.